The story of a life Seawall. Marguerite, Duras' The Seawall. Many people feel that reading is somehow difficult or boring. Some may shake their heads at the memory of thick books they had to read in school, while others might believe it's something only those with exceptional knowledge or culture can appreciate. However, reading is not something that requires special talent or background knowledge. On the contrary, it's a process through which we deepen our understanding of the world and reflect on our own lives by listening to the stories of people who have lived just like us, perhaps even more difficult lives. Today, I would like to introduce you to The Seawall by French author Marguerite Duras. At first glance, the title might sound like a grand nature documentary or a profound philosophical essay, potentially making you feel burdened. But in fact, this book is a deeply moving and vivid family story. The narrative follows a family struggling to survive in the harsh conditions of a French colonial-era Vietnamese village, battling relentless waves of the Pacific Ocean. Their story, transcending time and space, invites us to reflect on our own lives and experiences. Through this essay, we will take an in-depth look at the book's content and discuss its relevance to our modern lives. You don't need any special knowledge or culture to appreciate it. If you're simply willing to listen to the story of human lives, this book will offer you an unforgettable experience. 1. A barren land, a collapsing seawall. The struggle for life in the midst of despair. The Seawall is set in a remote village in French Indochina, present-day Vietnam, during the 1920s. The main characters are Susan, who embodies the young Duras, her older brother Joseph, and their mother, who is raising them alone. This family is struggling to survive in a barren land they were given as a colonial grant. The problem is that their land is adjacent to the sea, and during high tide, seawater floods the land, making it too salty to grow anything. The mother is determined to transform this desolate land into something fertile. She sacrifices every penny of her savings and her children's future to build a seawall to protect the land from the Pacific's powerful waves. Yet, from the start, the wall was doomed to collapse. Corrupt colonial officials embezzled the funds, and the seawall, built without proper technology or support, was quickly destroyed by the relentless ocean waves. Each year, the family rebuilds the wall, only for it to be smashed again by the sea. The mother's efforts become an endless cycle of Sisyphean labor, and the family is gradually consumed by deepening poverty and despair. This narrative offers a powerful message to us all: the human struggle within despair. The seawall built by the mother is not just a wall of earth and stone. It is a symbol of her final hope, her love for her children, and her desperate resistance against fate. We all build our own seawalls in life. Whether we work tirelessly to earn money, fight to protect our families, or dream of a better life, these efforts are our personal seawalls. Sometimes, they crumble under pressure, when our hard work yields no fruit, or when we're betrayed by those we trust, or when unexpected misfortunes strike. We feel despair. But the mother in the story doesn't give up. She rises again, gathering the strength to rebuild. This teaches us that even in the face of failure and despair, humans possess an inherent resilience that refuses to surrender. Moreover, the story highlights an important message about systemic injustice and personal powerlessness. The mother's tragedy is not solely due to natural forces. It is the result of a corrupt colonial government, unfair land distribution, and the harsh reality where the poor are denied even a chance for a better life. The story vividly illustrates how, despite individual effort, the contradictions within a large societal system can render a person completely powerless. Today, we continue to face such injustices, unfair competition, unequal opportunities, and invisible barriers that no amount of effort can overcome. The Seawall exposes these realities and poignantly captures the frustration and anger felt when individuals become victims of an oppressive system. 2. Choices for survival: money, love, and dignity. As the family's life deteriorates, they are forced to make painful decisions to sustain themselves and rebuild their collapsing seawall. Particularly, Susan and Joseph find their love and dignity sacrificed in the process. The mother arranges a meeting between Susan and a wealthy Chinese businessman, Mr. Zhao. Despite his unattractive appearance and clumsy manner, Mr. Zhao possesses great wealth. The mother hopes that Mr. Zhao will provide money and expensive gifts for Susan, which could help the family pay off their debts and start a new life. Despite her inner distress, Susan accepts this loveless relationship as a last resort to escape their desperate situation. Joseph, too, wrestles with his emotions but ultimately accepts the reality to ensure the family's survival. This scenario prompts us to reflect on a second key message: the agonizing choices humans must make to survive. How far will extreme poverty and despair push a person? How easily can values such as love, dignity, and self-respect be shaken in the face of hunger and survival? The book unflinchingly reveals this truth. Susan's decision must have been agonizing. Enduring a loveless relationship at a young age is a pain beyond words. Yet, she chooses to do it, holding on to the fragile hope that her family and herself might escape this hellish life. This is relevant in our contemporary lives as well. Sometimes, we must endure jobs we dislike for the sake of living, or compromise our values to meet the demands of a cruel reality. We may give up our dreams and make painful compromises in relationships. The Seawall reminds us that such choices are not signs of weakness or cowardice but rather a desperate courage for survival. The book urges us not to judge others' painful choices hastily, but to understand the desperation and stories hidden behind them. At the same time, the novel also addresses the power and distortion of money in human relationships. Mr. Zhao attempts to win Susan's affection through wealth, not love. While he cannot offer emotional connection, he tries to maintain the relationship through material abundance. The family, once looked down upon for their poverty, now wavers in the presence of wealth, and they find themselves in a situation where they must exploit each other. This keenly illustrates how, in a materialistic society, the value of human beings can be distorted. Can money truly solve everything? Can it truly bring happiness and dignity? The book doesn't provide answers but continuously poses these questions to us. 3. The Era of Loss, Comfort and Memories: Literature as the Transformation of Personal Experience. Marguerite Duras wrote this novel based on her own experiences. She spent her childhood in French Indochina and shared the mother's painful memories of failed seawall construction in a time of poverty and hardship. This personal experience infuses the novel with vivid realism and deep emotional resonance. Duras transforms her painful memories into literature by revisiting her distant past. At this point, we encounter the third message: the healing power of literature in confronting painful memories. The act of writing The Seawall was not merely storytelling for Duras. It was a process of confronting her wounded past, finding meaning within it, and possibly liberating herself from the burdens of those painful memories. We, too, face wounds and sorrows in life. There are memories we want to forget and moments we never wish to revisit. Yet, Duras's novel shows that only by honestly facing such memories can we find true comfort and growth. The pain and despair of the novel's characters reflect Duras's own experiences. By expressing these emotions in writing, she reconciled with her past and offered readers a profound sense of empathy and solace. One of the reasons we read literature is precisely this: to understand our lives through others' stories, to rediscover emotions buried deep within ourselves, and to find hope even in suffering. Duras does not romanticize the tragic reality but depicts it with a calm, almost indifferent tone, which ironically enhances the tragedy while revealing the persistent beauty of life. Her writing style may seem cold or harsh at times, but the human sorrow and love within it move readers deeply. Additionally, this book demonstrates how personal experiences can transform into universal narratives. Duras's individual suffering is connected to the broader pains of colonialism, poverty, and the fundamental loneliness of human existence. Her story transcends a specific time and place to reach into the hearts of people across all eras. Through this family story, we glimpse our own families, our neighbors, and ultimately, the shared human experience of despair, love, hope, and the will to survive. For life beyond the seawall, we move forward anyway. The novel's ending does not provide a clear sense of hope. The mother ultimately dies from illness, and Susan and Joseph leave their family behind to seek a new life elsewhere. It is not a perfect happy ending, but they are determined to break free from the cycle of hardship and failed efforts, stepping into a new existence. They leave behind their painful past and take uncertain steps toward a potentially better future. This brings us to the final and most important message: life continues, even in the midst of despair. The seawall crumbles, the mother is gone, and the pain remains, but Susan and Joseph survive. They grow through their suffering and develop the will to forge their own futures. Though not all their problems are resolved, they move forward toward a life beyond the seawall, toward the possibility of something new. Our lives are not so different. We face countless failures and disappointments. Some walls, no matter how hard we try, crumble under pressure, and some relationships end in irreparable loss. Yet, we must keep living. We must rise again despite the pain of loss, and search for new paths in light of our failures. The seawall reminds us that, although life can be cruel and unjust, humans are tenacious, always seeking hope and creating new meaning, and ultimately moving forward. After reading this book, we might ask ourselves, what have been the seawalls I've lost in my life? What seawalls am I currently building? What difficult choices have I made? And most importantly, despite all the pain and failure, how can I continue living my life? In conclusion, what story does your seawall tell? Marguerite Duras's The Seawall contains a universal story of life that anyone, regardless of education or background, can empathize with. It encompasses poverty, suffering, injustice, love, sacrifice, and the unwavering will to survive, all condensed into the tragic narrative of a single family. This book encourages us not to avoid the difficulties we face in life, but to confront their essence and seek understanding. It also urges us to deeply empathize with those who are marginalized and victimized by systems, and to think about the importance of small actions in creating a better society. Reading is not merely an act of accumulating knowledge. It is a mirror for reflecting upon our own lives through the lives of others, and a window through which we can understand the world we inhabit. The Seawall reminds us once more of the fundamental value of reading. Don't think about it as something complicated. Why not take a moment to listen to the story of this family? Perhaps within their pain and struggle, you will find the meaning of your own seawall and discover a new wave of hope beyond the broken wall. This book will certainly leave a lasting impression on your heart.